Hello, Broadman Baptist Church. This is your Pastor Rick, and this is the Broadman Word for December 22nd, 2023, almost at Christmas. And it occurred to me that we're going to be spending a lot of time with folks, or hopefully you'll be spending a lot of time with folks, and we'll be spending time together. And we need to be present in the moment. It needs to matter. Connections need to be made or restored or deepened. The relationships need to matter. And in order to do that and to be God honoring about it all, to do what we're supposed to do here in this Advent season and certainly in honor of Christmas, we need to be who we're supposed to be. We need to be present, engaged, genuine, authentic, contagious if we can be, all of those things that we've talked about over the weeks. There is one gigantic block in today's society that gets in the way, and I'm guilty of it myself, and that is technology, in particular our phones. From Psalm 131, David has written something to us, but I'm going to give you a little bit of background first. There was a book written not too long ago by Nicholas Carr called The Shallows. And in it, he describes how the internet has sort of shaped our relationship with stillness. We're not really able to still or quiet ourselves, particularly our minds, anymore. We used to be able to have moments of contemplation. We used to be able to deep dive, words and information and unpack it and put it where it should be, that it makes the most sense and does the most good for us and others. But we really can't do that anymore. Think about it, whether you're online or not, your mind expects to take in information the way the internet delivers it. Just this big rushing stream of megabytes. And so that's how our brains, and the younger you are, the more true this is, that's how our brains process the world anymore. Well, it doesn't do any good in terms of being present. Present in ourselves with God, present with family and friends, congregation. It doesn't allow you to be how it is that you need to be the Christian that you really should be. So, we used to be able to have, this gigantic pool of information. The world hasn't changed much that way, but we were able to kind of take it, and we were sort of bobbing around in information, and we could take our time. You could process it. You could prioritize things. We could, assign meaning to things. We could learn lessons from things. There was a tremendous process to being a person. But now, instead of being in this gigantic pool of information, just kind of still and taking it in, we're like a guy on a jet ski zinging through the information of life, and it doesn't do anything to calm ourselves or to quiet our spirit. So in Psalm 131, David writes, "My heart is not proud, Lord, my eyes are not haughty, and I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me." It goes on, but I want to stop there for just a second. This individual has been able to gain perspective. The world hasn't been any less confusing or awe-inspiring or difficult during David's time than it is now for us. We've made it even more so, but it was still then. And David is writing, recognizing that His eyes aren't seeking things beyond what he is supposed to do. He's not concerning himself with gigantic matters that are really God's business and not his. So he's proclaiming these things. Moving into verse 2, though, this gets a little bit more specific to us today. It says, "But I have calmed and quieted myself. I am like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I am content." And then it goes on in verse 3 to say, "Israel, put your hope in the Lord both now and forevermore." So in this gigantic world, and David was in complicated, perilous times, uh, in this world, he realizes that there is a place for him and a role for him to play. There's a place for God and a role for God to play. And there's a relationship between the two. But he has stilled himself. He has quieted himself, calmed himself. And he makes the likening to a weaned child being content with its mother. And so we need to be able to quiet and calm ourselves and have a relational perspective on this world that we're in and the gigantic amounts of information that are present in all that we have to do. We have to assign ourselves, like David did, to not be haughty with our eyes and to not concern ourselves with things that are too much for us. Uh, David says things that are too wonderful for him, meaning things that God does. Instead, we need to focus on being able to quiet ourselves, calm ourselves, and make the most of our time and our relationship with Christ to help us now. And we should then be able to be the genuine, connected, contagious Christians that we're supposed to be, because we don't have the worries of the world. We don't have these internet trained brains because we've been able to step away from it. We've been able to act differently. Big surprise. Being a Christian requires you to do something different than the world. Wow, okay. Hadn't heard that before, but it's just one more instance where in order for you to be an impactful, transformative power for the gospel of Christ and yourself, to lead the kind of life that God wanted you to lead, you can't have the internet streaming brain that we described earlier. You have to be able to do a deep dive on information and prioritize and categorize and make sense of and employ the things that you see and hear, and spend time with it, not like the guy with the jet ski, screaming through the pool of life's information, like the internet would want you to. So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to leave you with that. During this time in particular, where there is so much going on, and there are so many messages out there, and so much for us to consider not doing that this year. Consider quieting and calming yourself and being content with your relationship with God, like a weaned child is content with its mother. Listen, I love you. I hope you have a marvelous day. I'm going to be taking a break next week with Christmas week, and I'll be traveling, so you won't get a Broadman word from me next week, but I'll pick it back up right after the new year. And so for now, have a Merry Christmas. I hope you have a God-filled, Spirit-led Christmas with family and friends, and that you're able to make use of this passage today. You take care. I'll talk to you next time.